Good morning on this Friday, March the 12th, 2021. And let it be known, today we're going to be talking to an engineer slash fashionista. Aliyah Powell will join us shortly to discuss her career as an engineer and in the fashion industry. But first, the headlines. With Vice President Kamala Harris standing nearby in the Oval Office, President Joe Biden signed his sweeping $1.9 trillion COVID-19 economic relief package into law on Thursday afternoon. This historic legislation is about rebuilding the backbone of this country and giving people in this nation, working people, middle-class folks, people who built the country, a fighting chance, the president said from the Oval Office as he signed the legislation. He said that's what the essence of it is. Congress on Wednesday passed the relief package, which has been the president's first and most pressing legislative priority since taking office in January. He had originally been expected to sign the bill today. He said Americans should begin receiving stimulus payments as early as this weekend. In an address to the nation last night, the president talked extensively about how vital the bill is and how it is a game changer for the poor and middle class. Biden directed states to make all adult Americans eligible to receive a COVID vaccine by May 1st. He announced several new actions to speed up vaccinations, including the use of dentists, veterinarians, and medical students, and others to give the shots. He condemned also hate crimes against Asian Americans who he said have been attacked, harassed, blamed, and scapegoated during the pandemic. He said it's wrong, it's un-American, and it must stop. So the president really lashing out at those who have followed the lead of the former president, who basically blamed China and Asian Americans for the coronavirus pandemic. Next, it's incredible how emboldened racists have become since the former president took office. There are no more dog whistles, just flat out Jim Crow, KKK rhetoric. Delegate Stacey Plaskett of the Virgin Islands handed Rep. Glenn Groffman his head for saying on the House floor that Black Lives Matter doesn't like, quote, the old-fashioned family, and called for his remarks to be stricken from the record. We were going to bring you video this morning, but we will have to bring that to you at another time. We had some technical difficulties. But during the debate on the Democrats' $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package, Representative Groffman took aim at what he says is a marriage penalty and the expansion of the earned income tax credit, pointing to the Black Lives Matter movement while making his case against the bill. Well, Representative Stacey Plaskett took him to task. She took to the House floor and she read the riot act, if you will, calling him out for his racist comments. And she didn't back down. She wanted him to stay there as she listened. And speaking of being at a certain place, our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis, has joined us. Good morning, Dr. Chavis.
Good morning, Stacey. I'm in transit, but I'm on Let It Be Known. The black press, we have to be mobile sometime. I'm headed to North Carolina to get my second vaccine for COVID-19. And I'm glad to be with you this morning on behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association.
Well, it's good to see that you're not driving, Dr. Chavis, that somebody's driving.
No, I'm not driving. But I am in transit.
Well, Dr. Chavis, just a quick couple of points to throw your way. We discussed the president's address last night and how he also said that the American people should be receiving as early as this weekend their stimulus payments. Big pieces of a big piece of legislation, I should say.
Yes, absolutely. A major piece of legislation, the American Rescue Plan, and $1.9 trillion. And this is going to benefit black-owned businesses. It's going to benefit black families. It's going to benefit black communities. So far, the Biden-Harris administration, they're keeping their promises to black America.
Yes, they are. And Dr. Chavis, we don't want to lose you before we bring on our guest. So let's do that. Mechanical engineer and fashionista Aliyah Powell has accomplished so much. And we're going to talk to her about her job at Michelin North America, and how did she get there? Why did she choose to be a senior progress engineer, and why she has chosen also to stick with fashion? Good morning, Aliyah
Great.
Powell.
Good morning. How are you all?
Sister Powell, how are you? I know your family very well. So proud of your success and your leadership and not only in STEM, but also in fashion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Aliyah, first of all, tell us exactly what you do at Michelin.
So at Michelin, I am the senior progress engineer here at our local facility in Louisville, Kentucky. It's called American Synthetic Rubber Company. I've been with the company for about 5 years. I actually started out as a co-op, and I worked my way up from there. As a co-op, I actually attended the University of Louisville, and that's where I studied and got my degree in industrial engineering.
Wow. So, and what was it that motivated you to go that way?
Into engineering?
Yes.
I would say I've always had a drive to fix things, to make things better, and it ultimately started with my first job. So I was 17 years old, and I had started working at Great American Cookies in Jefferson Mall, which is a local mall here in Louisville, Kentucky. And during that, I had got promoted to be the store manager, interim store manager for a few months, and I was still in high school. I was only 17 years old, first job. It had only been 6 months, and part of that was figuring out how do I manage high school and manage running a store. And every time I went to work, it was how can I make something better? How can I make it more efficient? What can I do to improve the work for the next employee coming in? And I think that's ultimately when it started. And I continued on.
Well, fantastic. So, tell us a little bit about the intricacies of your job, and some of the challenges also of being a Black woman in that field.
So when it comes to my job, I do a lot of collab projects. I do a lot of work that's for the scope of the plant. I also mentor other employees through their Greenbelt process and their training plan to also become certified, Michelin certified when it comes to using the tools that we have to solve problems. Um, I am currently the only Black female in my area. It's a group of 8 of us, and I'm the only female currently. So out of all of us, I feel like you have to you bring a different skill set, and part of that is knowing how to capitalize on that and knowing what you bring compared to what others bring in a male dominant field.
Wow. Well, apparently you are doing great, Dr. Chavis. I'm going to swing it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Aliyah. And Aliyah, I'm heading to Louisville this weekend. I first want to you and the family. I heard about now the young man who was killed. Was this your
Yeah,
brother?
it's my brother.
Yeah, 22 years old. Is that
Yep,
right?
just a baby.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear about your loss, and I'll be there. I'm speaking at the funeral on Monday
Okay.
in Louisville. So our condolences on behalf of the Black press to you and to the Powell family. But I wanted to go back to your work in STEM. There's so many opportunities in the STEM fields today. What words of encouragement would you give to young Black women and young Black men, young Black people, in terms of the career opportunities that are in STEM fields today in 2021?
I would say there is a place for you. Don't be discouraged. Like I was telling Stacy before, when I had first walked in to class, it was my very first day of speed school. I looked around, I seen nobody like me. It was all men. At that, I've probably seen one or two African American men. And at that point, I kind of thought, like, is this for me? Am I supposed to be doing this? Like, I don't see anybody who I can relate to. I don't feel included. And so that can also be very discouraging. And I'm sure there's other people who feel the same way or may go through the same thing, but just ultimately know you do have a place. Continue to push forth and continue to strive to make that difference. Engineering is hard. It is very rewarding, though, in the end.
Wow, and what else is rewarding is fashion, right, Aliyah? You're doing a little bit of everything. You're an engineer. You're into fashion. Tell us about your fashion business.
So last year, I launched my business. It's called Fit Fashionista, and it ultimately came out of my own fitness journey. So back in 2019, I decided to take control of my physical and mental health, and I decided to focus on like my mind, body, and spirit. And to this day, I've lost 78 pounds. But part of that journey, you tend to feel you feel struggles, and with that sometimes you lack confidence. And so my brand is focused on giving women that boost of confidence that they need while on their fitness journey. And I focus not only on the clothing aspect, because I honestly feel when you look good you feel good, and that's even while you're working out. So when I got on my outfit in the gym and I'm suited and booted, I feel like I'm here to accomplish what I set out to do, rather that's lifting 50 pounds or 100 pounds or whatever the case may be. And ultimately, I want other women to experience that as well. And when I did launch, I focused on also having fitness challenges and collaborating with other local trainers. And so the first one I did is called The Animal in Me. And it was actually with the trainer that helped me lose my first 40 pounds. So ultimately, it's just like a one-stop shop, not only for the fashion piece of it, but also for the health, both mentally and physically piece of it.
Wow. So I imagine that, especially during the pandemic, how important you talked about your mental well-being and the physical well-being. Can you stress the importance of being mentally fit during the pandemic?
Oh, so that was a hard one. So for a while, I personally had to work from home. And I think working out at home is completely different than the motivation that you get when you work out at the gym. I think you I don't know, the setting's different. You kind of like that motivation, but ultimately in the pandemic, it was personally for me a push. It was, I can't sit and dwell and eat bad and eat my emotions. And it's a hard time. It's a stressful time, but ultimately when you work out, you do feel good in the end. And I think if you stick to it, you see that benefit.
Yeah. And the connection, Aliyah, between fashion and mental health. You explained that, but explain to you said suited up and booted up. Looking good often makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Dr. Chavis?
Yes. I think your advice and counsel to African American women, to others, is so important, Aliyah. You're a success story. I mean, 78 pounds. I mean, you need to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. You really achieved. And then now you're in the fashion design. Tell us about Fashionista. How did you make the transition? You're still an engineer. You're still working at Michelin, but that's a great transition to use your scientific skills now to design and help women with their fashion.
So that transition was actually it was pretty difficult, and I'm still getting used to it. My dad had to kind of help me through that quite a bit with him having his own company. But ultimately, it was, I kind of jumped in, just head first, not really knowing a lot about it. But I've been taking classes. I've been really studying what I can do to reach the group of people I'm trying to help, and ultimately balancing the two. Sometimes one may take precedence than the other, but ultimately I get I feel very grateful to have both and to be able to do both.
Yeah.
Very good. No, you mentioned your father, AP Powell. He's one of the great leaders. Who lives now in Phoenix, Arizona. Of course, I'll be at the family this weekend. You've accomplished a lot. We're celebrating Women's History Month this month, Aliyah. What would you say to women in general about the importance of self-empowerment, the importance of having goals and striving to reach those goals?
Ultimately, you have to envision yourself there. You have to write down your goals. Ultimately, if you see it, you will believe it, and I think that is true for a lot of things. Currently, I am helping lead our diversity and inclusion um, leadership team at our local plant, and you hear a lot of stories about women and their struggles within a male dominant field, and I think it's just very important to know you can accomplish it. You may feel like you're a step behind. You may feel like you don't have. You may be perceived as if you don't have what it takes, but you ultimately do, and you ultimately can do it, and you can as long as you see yourself there, you can do it. That's truly what it comes down to. And there are people along the way here to support you and help you. So don't feel like you're alone.
Absolutely. We have a great story about you, Aliyah, on blackpressusa.com. Stacey, let's make sure that people see the article that appears about Aliyah's success, both as an engineer and both as a fashion leader. And then also, we're preparing, Stacey, for Black Press Week next week.
Yes, Black Press Week starts next. Actually, we kick it off Monday, really, right here. But you can register. It's March 18th and 19th is the actual dates, but you can register online free at virtuenmpa2021.com. That's again www.virtuenmpa2021.com. Black business challenges, responsibilities, and opportunities amidst COVID-19 pandemic. It's going to be a great week, and we always look forward to Black Press Week. Aliyah, Dr. Chavis has noted how you are a role model, but was there someone that you looked up to?
I would say my mom. Ultimately, I think I admire her strength and her will to keep going and keep pushing. Um, Her story personally, she's had 25 different surgeries throughout her life, and I just really look up to her and I admire her for really making a way for her and for us.
Yeah. And one of our viewers poses a very interesting question. The viewer says, encouraging young women is certainly needed. What can you say to our older women to keep them lifted up?
I would say that you all are our inspiration, especially for the younger generation, and you all do make a difference. There are older women within my facility that I truly look up to and that I truly admire now. And without their guidance, I'm not sure where I would be. So just know that you all are appreciated, and you all are as wonderful as the younger generation coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about the diversity and inclusion team. Um, can you explain a little bit about it? We hear a lot about the diversity and inclusion teams at this company, that company. How does it work at your company, and has it been beneficial?
So Michelin has really started to focus on D&I And this is one thing I really love about Michelin is that they use facts and statistics to figure out how we can keep pushing forward. And as part of our D&I council, we look at providing opportunities for others to understand unconscious bias, understand diversity, rather it's diversity that you can see, so race and gender, or it's something that you may not know about, which is maybe sexual orientation or maybe communication, and how they all fit together. With that, we also have 11 business resource groups that we really utilize, and we try to focus on those and how we can incorporate those different groups into the things that we do as a plant and in the community.
Wow. So when Michelin says diversity and inclusion, they mean it.
Yeah, they mean it, and I love it. I love them for it.
and so again, how long have you been there? And again, I want to go back to, first of all, how long you've been there, but I want to go back to when, as you said, when you were 17, working for American Cookie, it was.
Yeah.
It was about that, because I thought that was interesting too.
Okay. So for Michelin, I've been there 5 years. I just recently took on the role of helping lead the DNI, but it is something I'm passionate about. I've always been an advocate for education and financial literacy, and I think a lot of that goes back to my upbringing and some of the information I felt like I was missing out until the time came. Like when I started college, I didn't even know what a credit hour was. So it's just those little pieces of information that you miss, and you later realize how it affects you moving forward. Now to Great American Cookies. So that was actually a pretty cool job. I was able to learn how to decorate cookie cakes. But like I said, ultimately, with it being a small company, we would probably have no more than 3 people on a shift. You had to really figure out how to maximize your staffing, and how to figure out, the best way to do things the quickest way possible, while still having the quality product that you wanted. And so, like I said, ultimately, that's truly where I kind of felt my drive for industrial engineering. I didn't know that's what it was at that time, but I
Yeah.
eventually ventured into it.
And that's why I asked too. I went back there because oftentimes a situation like that, one might look at an individual doing that job and figure, well, it's a dead end. But you saw the big picture, and talk about that, if you will, seeing the big picture, and how we have to always look beyond what's in front of us.
So I think being a visionary goes a lot with being a leader. A lot of times people do just see what's in front of them. And when it comes to seeing the big picture, it comes to understanding different perspectives, understanding different aspects. In that job, it was also about when somebody was available to come in, how flexible were people, who could I call, who could I rely on, and truly figuring out how to balance that. Um, I was talking to a friend earlier today. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim Wise. He's an anti-racism activist and writer. Do you know him?
I'm sure Dr. Chavis is familiar with him.
Yes. Yes,
So,
yes, we know him. Yes.
so I had went to one of his seminars, and he was talking about systemic racism. And one thing he mentioned was, um, when it comes to resumes, you're only as good as the opportunity shown. So, in other words, if let's say I'm just as qualified for the jobs, but that's not shown on my resume, a lot of times you're perceived as not being qualified for the job. And ultimately, that's not always the case. And so I say that to say that you have a lot of people out there in underrepresented groups that are just as qualified, but might not have the advantage or the opportunity that they need to show that. And I really feel like that's something companies should look at when it comes to recruiting. I don't have the answer, and I don't know exactly how but it takes me back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our viewers, Lynn Spivey, is asking, she says, congratulations. Lynn says, congratulations, but can you provide the contact information for the fashion business?
Absolutely. So my website is getfitfashionista.com. And yeah, check it out.
Getfitfashionista.com. Dr. Chavis, I throw it to you for final thoughts.
Yes, we listen very carefully, Aliyah. We appreciate your journey, your success thus far. What is your future? Ultimately, do you plan to stay in the fashion space? Say 10 years from now, where do you want to be, Aliyah?
10 years from now, I think I want to have my own consulting company, but in a sense where I'm outsourced as a engineer. I want to travel to fix people's problems. As far as fashion, that is always going to have a place in my heart, so I do want to continue that. I'm just still trying to figure out how the two mesh together in the future, and ultimately, it just might be two businesses moving forward.
Very
Wow.
good.
Yeah, well, Aliyah Powell, continued success, and certainly our hearts go out to you and your family this weekend. All the best to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And for Women's History Month, this morning's shout out goes out to Dr. Camille Cosby. Camille Cosby, of course, is married to one of the most recognized faces in the entertainment industry, Bill Cosby. The couple raised 5 children, and she did so while returning to school to finish her education. She has played an active role in the management of her husband's career and their estimated $300 million fortune. A large portion of that fortune has been given away to historic African American colleges and universities, HBCUs, in an ongoing one family philanthropic mission. Camille Cosby also produced stage plays and other productions on her own. Born in Washington, D.C. in 1944, the eldest of Guy and Catherine Hanks' 4 children. After attending Catholic school, she enrolled in the University of Maryland as a psychology major. During her sophomore year, friends convinced her to go on a blind date. Her escort to the movies was a 26-year-old comedian named Bill Cosby. Camille began traveling with Bill every few weeks as he performed throughout the country. Less than a year after their marriage, Bill Cosby's appearance on The Tonight Show landed him a role on the primetime television show I Spy, and Camille Cosby became the business manager for her husband, overseeing all financial, philanthropic, and staffing matters. She also served as president of COC Productions, a film production company, and C&J Productions, a stage production company. She served as a board member for Essence Communications, the National Council of Negro Women, and the National Rainbow Coalition. And in 1989, she received an honorary doctorate from Spelman College, and she was named an honorary member of Delta Sigma Theta. In 1992, Camille Cosby completed her PhD at the University of Massachusetts. Her dissertation was published in 1994 in book form, Television's Imaginable Influences, the Self-Perception of Young African Americans. She has played an integral role in the defense of her husband and has steadfastly remained vigilant about clearing his name. Let it be known, in the words of Bill Cosby, you can turn painful situations around through laughter. If you can find humor in anything, even poverty, you can survive it. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and stay well, and we will see you on Monday.